automobile. You can drive it anywhere you want to. You don't pollute the air. All the other electric automobiles that I've actually seen has been nothing but this standard transmission. This is an automatic transmission car. There's not a whole lot of what you call junk, I would call, under cars. I've seen a lot of electric cars that had a lot of stuff in it. The only thing that this has a battery to run the radio, the blower. We've got two safety switches over here that can be mounted into an enclosed system, but we did this where you could see, where people can see this car with the technology. It's a safety switch system. This is a controller box, a Curtis control box. It cuts the amperage down. So with the amperage, here's what's real good about electric automobiles. All electric automobiles that has surge technology with this in it, they create heat. They've got to have a fan to blow this Curtis controller off because it gets hot. We don't want that to get hot. We want to stay that cold, because once it stays cold, you save on all the computer chips that's in this controller. So that means you can go farther, longer, and you won't have no problems. This electric automobile has got two gauges in front of the shifter on the automatic transmission. It's called the voltage and the amperage. That's what I was talking about earlier about amperage on automobiles. Let's see if we can't get the amperage to go down instead of going up. The voltage on this here should say somewhere around 120 volts. When we start out, there's no amperage at all. So the gauges is down below here, and we're getting ready to take and go drive the car, and you can see for yourself what it does. All you do is just take and put it in gear, and the motor sounds like a little sports car. Shifts, runs good, fantastic automobile, drives. If you'll see the amperage on the gauge, see it going down? Amperage goes way down. That's what I like about electric cars. If you floorboard the car, the most it will do would just be about maybe 100 amps. And that's what we want to do, is to keep the amperage down on an electric car. So it'll go anywhere really anybody wants to go. If you want to take a trip, you don't have to worry about it going to go plug it in the house, because it's called the surge technology. It's a beautiful automobile, and I love it, and I've put a lot of hard work in this car, and we're going to make it. No oil, no gas to fool with. And the technology is here. It's going to be here. It's going to go. It's going to work beautiful for the whole world, for mankind. See you around. This is your future, people.
I want to talk to you today about Edwin Gray. He made a car that was... I want to talk to you today about Edwin Gray. He made a car that was rechargeable as he drove it. It's an over unity car, free energy car. Really interesting concept, but he did something that was so revolutionary that we weren't ready for it. Yet it goes back to the 1800s with Nikola Tesla is exactly what he was trying to do. He created a radiant energy that's not positive, but it's negative. Let's go ahead and take a look at his circuit real quick. This is the Edwin Gray circuit right here. This is part of it. So what you got over here is a bunch of flipping switches. So if I just said this was a ZVS, and I basically drew a primary, this is my secondary, and then it goes this way, right? You go, well, hold on. Why would you say that? What makes you assume that? Well, it's because of what he created right here. You see, right here he created radiant energy in the negative, not the positive. So how did he do that? He used a gray tube, is what they called it. It's simply a rod. It's got another cylinder around it. And another cylinder around it. And they are encased by another cylinder. These right here are mesh, or it would have a pattern that was like this with little holes in it. You get the idea? Anyway, what is he trying to do here? Well, let's go back to Nikola Tesla for a minute. This is Tesla hairpin circuit. This is the key to understanding Edwin Gray. You see, this right here, you have a direct circuit. So this is your driver circuit. It goes into your primary winding. Secondary winding goes into a spark gap. Capacitors right here. This right here went to a medical device, which we won't be talking about today. But what was he doing here? You see, Tesla created a negative radiant energy right here. And here's what he did. He took this field here that's created here, and he forced this field here to flip. So as that field built out, it could not build the correct way. So if I told you this is the dielectric and inside of that was his magnetic, well, he couldn't build it the same way going out. So what happened is it reversed. So now, if I do that, his dielectric went inside of his magnetic field. Now, that's pretty interesting, right? It's a reversal. It's a flip of the field. So if I drew it out like this, and then I told you it was right here, and this is your dielectric, this is your magnetic, right? What did he do? He took it and put this into here. So now it builds a different field. Well, there's another way to do this. And this is the most important part of finding this out. If I put a rod down the center, I now have the same thing. Let's go over this real quick. I'm switching the field now, like this. Now this is very important to Edwin Gray. This exact way of doing it is what he did. So if I said that's cold radiant energy right there, which means that there's not a lot of heat into it, right? The only heat comes from the RF itself. So, now that we understand that with Tesla, and Tesla already did it, and he said it was a massive power source bigger than the radiant energy that would come off of his Tesla coil. Which it is, because I built it. Now let's understand that same concept right here. Simply have coil over coil right there, which is this cylinder. Now, there's your rod down the center. Right there. There's 1 and 2 cylinders. Why is it there? Well, funny thing about this energy is it builds like a scalar field. You see, I have trouble with Steinmetz and what he says because it takes voltage and amperage in order to make a magnetic field. It would also take voltage and amperage to make a static field. Therefore, what radiant energy in the negative is cannot be those two items. It has to be something different. It's an inversion of the field. Now, if I understood it in that way, Edwin Gray makes all the sense in the world. Because, say this right here is your gas pedal, right? And I want to push on that gas pedal. I'm going to create heat in this device. You see, the funny thing is about radiant energy is when you put things too close to each other, it flips the field back. So if I told you this is how you built it, but then I go over here and I put it into this, right? Then this field becomes this field on the outside. But what does that mean if I wanted to flip it back again? I now simply flip it again. Edwin Gray was doing this. This energy was where he created his radiant energy field. It went right through this rod. But as he adds heat from a secondary battery, it then flips the field to hot. Once he flips the field to hot, now this starts to make sense. Spark gap for radiant energy, right? This comes back as radiant energy because this part is his generator. This part is his motor. Now, as I push the system through, this amount of energy will pull here and shoot one way through the spark gap. But then, as it runs and he takes his foot off the gas, the energy comes back and fills up the radiant field. You can't overcharge the radiant field. The capacitors here both pick up the extra energy. See, the capacitor doesn't care whether it's DC or radiant energy. To it, it's just a field of energy inside the capacitor. You see, this device works based on Tesla's radiant energy. If you don't understand it, take your Tesla coil, put a rod down the center directly in the middle, and pull the energy field. That energy field is way more powerful than the field on the outside. So let's go back real quick. Tesla's radiant energy. This is his hairpin circuit, guys. This is why I keep telling you it's the same energy. You see, you can create energy more than one way, as long as you get the right effects. Energy field here. What happens if I do this? If I simply wanted a bigger rod to go down there, that energy is no longer cold. It's now hot. I just flipped the field by changing the geometry. But that's exactly what Edwin Gray was doing. We look at it right here. All I have to do is create heat in here and change the energy. That's it. If I add a DC to this field, what am I doing? I'm creating a lot of heat. I'm adding massive amount of amps to it. Now as I add the amps to this field, guess what? My radiant energy now becomes hot. I now add to that amperage field. Now I'm getting an uptick in my amps going this way. It's not crossing back over because the amps are okay to go into the capacitor. It's going to go right through the motor. This is why his device works. It's a loop that's continuously running. This will run itself through this right here. Do this, it continuously runs itself. This is added power to flip the field. Your battery on this side, and this is why I call it a ZVS, is it's simply running two switches that go onto a coil, which switches onto another coil. If you understood Tesla's device, like I told you, I took my Tesla coil and I ran the rod right down the center, then you would understand that I am simply taking that to right there. You go, well, that doesn't look like that, but that's exactly how it's built. You see, in order to get this, you have to understand field flip, and you have to understand which side of the field you're on. That's why it makes more sense when you look at Tesla and you go, this right here is an inversion of the field. I'm moving my dielectric inward. Now I'm going to move it back outward in order to get more magnetic field. You see, if it was creating static electricity, it wouldn't do that. If it was creating just magnetism, it wouldn't do that. Tesla discovered negative radiant energy. What does that basically mean? It is simply room temperature and below. That's it. It's not this massive cold streak. Negative energy, cold energy is simply room temperature and below. It can go down 5-10 degrees. That's it. It's making your circuits cooler as they run. You're reducing the amount of heat in your system. That's the goal here. When you look at his patent, find me a resistor. If it's in the ZVS part of it, like I pointed out, that's fine. If it's in a control board, that's fine. If it's in the main circuit where he's creating his energy, you know he's not in cold energy. You know he's not in the radiant energy. Because a resistor in that area produces heat. It's not what he wants. He wants it to be cooler. He wants to keep the cold. That motor runs continuously just like a regular motor would. That's why he's always pulling energy back. He adds the heat to it in order to move it. Now, you say, how's that even possible? Does electricity work that way? This is the understanding of scalar. Okay? If I wanted to take a mountaintop, I have a frequency, I have a temperature. This is controlling the temperature in your system. I just have to know this about energy. The higher the frequency, the lower the temperature. The lower the frequency, the higher the temperature. Now this will convert into volts and amps. As the frequency is up, your voltage is higher. As the frequency is down, your amps are higher. Interesting how that works, isn't it? This is why that magnetic field that Steinmetz talks about can't be magnetic. It's scalar. It's building out in the exact same way in the voltage that you use every day, and you're not even realizing it. So stuck in the common understanding of it, you haven't opened your mind up to understand it in a different way. Temperature, frequency, all matters. Amperage. So if I wanted to create more amperage, what do? I put heat in the system. The more heat I can put in that system, the more amperage I'm going to get out of it. The less heat I put in the system, the more voltage I get out of it. So what's the transfer? If I want to transfer from voltage to amperage, I need heat. Now that we understand that a little better, We go back to Edwin Gray. This field right here, he's field flipping. He is literally putting heat into this system to convert that radiant energy into an amperage field. Once he gets the amperage field, he then goes along and runs his motor. Once he takes his foot off the gas, all of this right here goes in at a higher amount. It's always continuously going in there, but in order to get the higher amount, he has to let off the gas and just let this thing build up as a radiant energy field. Now, I do tests on my channel. I take my Tesla coils and I run them with the rod down the center. And then I put it to another Tesla coil and can convert it back to a magnetic field. That's how I know this is happening. This is how I know it's flipping from one field to the next. Interesting fun fact about radiant energy in the negative, it creates structure and holds in any kind of static or magnetic field. Interesting fact about it, huh? Not a lot of people would know that unless you actually ran the gravity flyer test like I did in reverse. That's the only way I found it. But I did find it and I did understand it. This is free energy right here. This device works. I could tell you this part right here, I had zero problem building. Zero. I could do that in probably 2 days. I can build this out and add the amperage field in because it's simply just a battery, to a switch. Go, 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 and get that. The hardest part about this whole thing is just building out the motor part. That's it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that build motors who will tell you that's really not that difficult at all. It's the understanding of how this works. This is free energy, guys. This has been built a long time ago. The only reason we didn't understand it yet is because we didn't put a rod down the center of our Tesla coil and understand that we were flipping fields. Now that we do, we now have free energy. Guys, please, build it. I'd love to see a bunch of cars that run on this. We'd actually get somewhere good in this world. Before we get out of here, I just want to let you guys know that I offer memberships on my channel now. It's a really cool thing. I do behind the scenes stuff. I give you more information. I also put things out early on it. All of my Fringe Think Tank Star Trek episodes will be on there. I just put out another one, a number 7 episode. Also, you're going to get emojis on there that you can use in the live chats. They're pretty cool. And as we grow our membership, I'll be able to put more emojis out there. Just a fun way to liven up the chat a little bit. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. And have yourself a great day. Thank you very much.